Hello, this is David. Welcome to a video review for Alan Malz, Financial Risk Management, Models, Histories, and Institutions. And this is a video review of his Chapter 11, which is Assessing the Quality of Risk Measures. And this chapter is really about model risk, and in fact, it replaces a long-time reading that was assigned for model risk. I have a quote from that at the bottom here. That's Kevin Dowd from Managing Market Risk, which continues to be assigned in the FRM. And his Chapter 16, if you have time, is still a recommended read for the topic of model risk because it has such a long prior history in the FRM and continues to speak to some fundamental topics in model risk. Nevertheless, that Chapter 16 from Kevin Dowd's book was more recently replaced in the FRM Part 2 Topic 7 with Alan Malz Chapter 11. And this chapter, which is really about model risk, and we have the following learning objectives. Describe the ways that errors can be introduced into models. Explain how model risk and variability can arise through the implementation of VAR models and the mapping of risk factors to portfolio positions. And then 2 mini case studies of a sort. Identify reasons for the failure of the long equity tranche short mezzanine credit trade in 2005. And describe how such modeling errors could have been avoided. And we'll see here how, once again, an assumption about a parameter, an assumption that that parameter would be static in a model gave rise to a real gross misestimation of the consequences. And then finally, explain major defects in model assumptions that led to the underestimation of systematic risk for residential mortgage-backed securities during the global financial crisis. And I like this quote from Kevin Dowd, and I do like the Kevin Dowd reading because it's quite philosophical. Model risk casts its shadow over everything that we do in risk management. And I will note also that these learning objectives, ironically, although it's model risk, they are all qualitative, you'll notice, no quantitative action verbs. So describe ways that errors can be introduced into models. Malz tells us that errors can be introduced in several ways, including programming error. The programming of a model algorithm may contain bugs. This is a seemingly trivial channel, but it can have large consequences. For example, during the ratings process for structured credit products during the subprime crisis, Moody's incorrectly assigned AAA ratings to certain structured credit products using material flawed programming. For example, AXA Rosenberg Group employed a quantitative investment approach but discovered a programming error in its models that probably caused losses for some investors. Okay, so programming error was that first major way that errors can be introduced into models. Then we also have implementation error. Even when correctly programmed, software can still be implemented incorrectly. That is to say, at variance with the original intention. A common example is inconsistent mapping of positions to risk factors, which contributes to differences in VAR results. Okay, so that is the second way that errors can be introduced into models. And the third way that errors can be introduced into models, according to Malz, is valuation risk, which is to say model errors can occur in the valuation of securities or in hedging, which can result in losses hidden within the firm or from external stakeholders. A portfolio can be exposed to one or more risk factors than the portfolio manager realizes because of hedging errors. Valuation errors due to inaccurate models are examples of market risk as well as operational risk. So obviously this reading is assigned in Part 2, Topic 7. Model risk has classically, in the FRM typology, been slotted under T7, operational risk. But the point here is that just as it casts a shadow over all of our risk measurement, because we use models to perform risk measurement, it also applies or transcends into other categories or buckets of risk like market risk.